Nope, we're live.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to our weekly podcast, The Future is Here, where we focus on technology topics that affect classroom teachers. Today our focus is on rolling out one-to-one devices in the classroom. We'll be talking about the pros, cons, and related wisdom from those who've been there. Our regular guest hosts, high school teachers Brent Willett and Audra Lind, are here to offer their personal experiences along with what the experts say.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So let's start with the benefits of having one-to-one devices in the classroom. Audra, I believe you have everything we need to know for that.
Well, I know I've mentioned before that my district is behind the technology curve. We're exploring options right now, but money is a big factor. So to convince our district to move ahead with one-to-one, we need to have some pretty compelling pros.
Isn't that the truth? The root of all things is money.
Well, one great resource is a white paper written by Carl Hooker, Director of Innovation and Digital Learning in Ames, Texas, and founder of iPad Palooza. His paper tracked their district's one-to-one initiative for 3 years. Now, even though the data was local, it produced some really encouraging findings.
Don't you think his local information would be somewhat typical of our education system?
Possibly. He did outline some pretty universal benefits for students. The first was engagement.
I know in my classroom engagement plays a very big role in everything. If they're bored, they misbehave.
Yep. Hooker found that students reported feeling more engaged in class when iPads are used, almost 80 to 87%. And they found that distraction, which had initially been a major student concern, decreased by nearly 20%. Also, 100% of students reported an increase in communication between teacher and student. Creativity increased, student-produced work increased 11.8%. And when asked if having iPads enhanced their learning experience, about 88% of students responded with yes to absolutely yes.
Wow, those are some amazing statistics. I think most people believe that having devices in classroom is a major distraction.
I think that can be said of anything, but solid classroom management goes a long way.
Absolutely. Now, with one-to-one, students produced wide-ranging digital artifacts, blogs, online portfolios, videos, even coding in kindergarten. These activities hadn't even been possible before.
How do they handle the students' increased web activity? Isn't that an issue?
Actually, an added benefit was that these activities opened the door to conversations about cultivating positive digital footprints. You know, college and job recruiters are using social media and Google to research applicants. So having that everyday discussion was highly beneficial for students.
I suppose, like everything else, it's about using explicit instruction. So what's the impact on teachers?
Well, teachers appreciate the one-to-one devices too. They make assessment easier, offer real-time feedback, and improve communication. And like students, teachers reported decreased distractions and less behavior issues than in traditional classrooms.
Worry about parents and how they'll react to their students having their own device, especially since my kids will be taking theirs home next year.
Well, an unexpected benefit of the one-to-one rollout was parental involvement. The district anticipated some training, but found that one-to-one devices increased parental awareness of their kids' digital lives. Driven by demand, the district now offers digital safety night, workshops, resources, and even full semester-long courses.
Seems like it provided the expected positive outcomes, but aren't there two sides to every coin? What about the cons? Brent, I believe you did our investigation?
Right. Not all the research is in favor of one-to-one initiatives. There are some drawbacks and concerns. The biggest is money. There are countless districts in the U.S. that have budget concerns. Finding the money to purchase a new device for every student in these districts seems unrealistic. And once those devices have been purchased, there's also the cost to maintain them.
Again with the money.
If the district provides the devices, the district is responsible for fixing them when they break. Another cost that must be considered is infrastructure. In order to be able to support every student using a digital device, the district needs to have the infrastructure to support it.
Well, what sort of cost is associated with the infrastructure? Don't most schools have infrastructure?
Yes, but the added devices use additional bandwidth. Most schools do not have enough to support it. This can require an entire reconfiguration.
Exactly. And on top of that, you have to keep in mind training. Not all teachers will possess the skills and knowledge necessary to use, not to mention teach with, the devices. Training requires time and money.
The National Center for Education Statistics says that the average elementary school teacher in the U.S. is 42.4 years old. These teachers have not grown up with technology. Unless they have a strong desire to learn, they're likely to only have user-level knowledge. This can't be ignored.
Well, it's more of a mindset than an age.
I noticed you came back to money again, Brent. Not surprising.
Well, in its defense, there have been some huge rollouts, some more successful than others. Los Angeles just spent $1 billion purchasing an iPad for every student, and it failed.
Failed? Seems like if you have that kind of money, you can make anything work.
Yeah, failed. FBI investigation, they're being audited, it's a mess. When doing a rollout, whether you're in tiny rural Minnesota or big-time LA, you have to look at the big picture, the hows and whys of digital rollouts.
There are definitely concerns that are not related to money as well. Mark Pullen authored an article titled Pros and Cons, Is Elementary Too Early for One-to-One Technology? The first of which is the importance of reading an actual book. As he puts it, that there is something important for young students about holding a physical book and understanding the basic essence of reading from left to right, top to bottom, and page to page.
That is important. I have fifth graders who can't figure out that the holes on loose leaf paper go on the left.
Another concern is a lack of movement. With information at students' fingertips comes a reduced need for movement. With obesity rates already a big concern, reducing the need for more movement is alarming. And last but not least, using one-to-one technology could lead to a reduced use of concrete manipulatives. As Pullen states, in math, children learn one-to-one correspondence through the use of physical manipulatives, including fingers. Some one-to-one detractors fear the loss of such manipulatives as a result of one-to-one technology being implemented. Clearly, before starting a one-to-one initiative, the pros and cons need to be thought out and addressed.
Clearly. And it's important to remember that devices don't replace everything in the classroom.
In my classroom, students have floor seating that's entirely mobile, so I'm not sure I agree with the movement issue.
Well, fair enough. Hey, I've never worked through an actual rollout. Jen, your district has already embarked on this, haven't they?
Yeah, we have. We're in what we call year zero. We have a budget and a rollout plan, but are working through the details.
So what have you learned in year zero?
I've learned that every time you think you have a comprehensive list of concerns, you find out there's more to add.
So what's on your list?
Well, money was at the top, but we received a referendum for that. We will be one-to-one for all of our students from grade 4 to 12th next year. We had to consider everything from type of device to charging stations to repairs, integration into current curriculum, and professional development.
Right. Inventory where you were, draft a strategic plan for where you want to go. Were teachers involved in the process?
Yeah, we have a tech team that's made up of one teacher from each grade. We meet about every 2 weeks. It's interesting to see how some of the younger teachers are pushing back more than the older ones. Teacher buy-in is definitely a hurdle.
Well, being an average teacher age of 42.4 myself, I could see that.
Well, I'm 45 and I'm in. So what else has your teacher advisory group determined needs to be on your list?
Logistical things are a big topic, but what do you do if a student shows up with a dead Chromebook? How do you handle a student who's off task or surfing the web?
Right. How do you track which users are doing what on the network?
My school uses Chromebooks. We chose because it required us to log into their Google Apps account. This links them to the internet through our pre-established filters. We can control their usage that way.
Right. And what about the network itself? How did you plan for the increased traffic, or was your school ready for it?
Well, referendum money paid for the complete overhaul. We have Wi-Fi hotspots in every classroom now.
My district applied for federal E-rate funding, essential in rural Minnesota.
I'm not familiar with that. Maybe on a future podcast we can cover how to get funding, especially since money is obviously an issue for everyone.
Right. Our biggest discussion's been teacher training. Many teachers have no idea how to use the technology and are now expected to integrate it into their daily lessons. Without guidance, many teachers will default to simply having their students type instead of write.
So true. We've all heard the story of the class that gets iPads and they end up collecting dust. Or worse yet, they're used for word processing.
Don't forget about academic games or drill and practice websites. Without training on integration, we're really just modernizing typing.
I suppose the golden rule would be to remember why you're adding one-to-one devices in the first place.
Definitely. The goal is to enhance learning and increase 21st century skills. Many districts jump at the chance to add the technology but lack time or resources to provide the professional development. Teachers who are not tech savvy struggle with the added burden of a classroom full of Chromebooks. They won't know how to integrate them into their lessons effectively. The fallback is to have students create slideshows While Bloom's taxonomy does place create at the top of the list, aren't they really creating just digital scrapbooks?
Yeah, so how do we get them there?
Training, training, training. Well, we have covered a lot today. Maybe we can dig in deeper on future segments.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining our weekly podcast. The future is here. See you next week.
Thanks.
Click. All right.
Okay, so
there was one spot where there was that little pause. And are you still broadcasting?